What is a short sign that someone is new to your hobby? They think I'm good at it. People when I tell them I wrote a code in Python that makes my LED lights dance, when in reality it took me like 5 hours and 90% of the project is from someone else. So yeah, I'm basically a pro. Import smart home. Done. They buy super expensive equipment before they know how to use it. It's always either this, or they go against everyone else's advice and buy the cheapest option and end up upgrading anyways almost immediately. I think I just made this mistake. Why do my plants always die in a few weeks? I water them every day. Screams in succulents. My succulents look off today. Let me Google what it could be so I can fix it. Browning leaves could be a sign of underwatering, but it's also a sign of overwatering. Don't water your succulents too much. Unless it's drying out, then water it, but not too much, or else you overwater it. Succulents need a lot of light, but be careful of too much light, because some succulents might burn. Pure, unadulterated excitement at the smallest thing. Not that I'm saying it's a bad thing, more that it's lovely to see. A few weeks ago I replaced a ceiling light in my apartment, including rewiring, and will still walk to the room, just turn it on and off over and over in disbelief that I really did it. Everyone has the I did a thing emotion. No one can explain it, but it's there. Under baking bread because they are afraid to burn it. It won't burn that fast. Just leave it in the oven. Bread is only ever overcooked if it is burned. Some breads do get too dry before they're burned, but in general dark brown is better than barely tan and gummy. If they are thinking about making a small business based around a crafting hobby, I tend to see a lot of people begin talking about making a small business out of hobbies they haven't even started yet, or are very early into it. I love knitting. It's one of my favorite things to do. I would not do it for money. The amount of effort I would have to put, it would not make it fun anymore. I posted a pair of socks I'd made for myself the other day, and one of my friends said you should make those to sell. Which sounds great, until you find out that it took $50 of premium yarn and 40 hours of my time to make a single pair. A lot of people don't realize how much money goes into craft materials. Then they say, why don't you just use cheaper materials? For me, I'm a bladesmith. I don't use cheaper steel for the knives I make because they would get dull or chip easily. I'll put many hours into my craft too. There's no way I wouldn't factor that into a price if I listed one for sale. They buy a fishbowl, posting on r/aquarium how's my setup, and they have Imaginarium neon rocks and no filter. They want to make incredibly overly complicated recipes, or they want to 100% exactly replicate one of the best drinks in the world. They're almost paralyzed by fear of infection/contamination. Missed my gravity by 2 points. Will it be okay? No, give it here. Hi everyone. I'm new to all this, and I have zero experience making music. Never had any kind of lessons, and I've never touched a keyboard, and really all I've ever done with music is bob my head along with it in my car. I've never heard of music theory, and I'm not really interested in it. So I bought a MacBook Pro and Ableton 11 and the best interfaces and microphones and MIDI keyboards I could afford. I'm going to make sick beats and change the music industry. How do I get started? That's pretty universal for any hobby. On the plus side, it means you can buy used gear in perfect condition for half the price of new. This is exactly how I put together the wood shop in my basement. I bought used stuff off of Craigslist for a fraction of what it would have cost new. I learned how to service the tools, get them running well, and keep them that way. It's an affordable way to get started. I have a great idea for a new board game. I have never made a board game before. It's like a combination of Monopoly and Risk, but I don't want to give more details because I don't want someone to steal my idea. Can anyone make art for my Kickstarter? I'll give you credit. Sounds like every one-abe entrepreneur pitching his idea to a developer. It's like a dating app but for dogs. That's all I can say. First project. I'm making a baby blanket. Crochet. And I can say this because I did this as well. It takes much longer than it seems like it should to make a blanket. I've been crocheting for close to 20 years now, and I still suck at finishing baby blankets. Haha. Hoard yarn and start 12 whips that I rotate through as one bores me? Heck yes. I have made 2 baby blankets. One for my niece and one for my daughter. The second one took almost as much as cooking up my daughter. I finished a week before she was born. Now my sister is pregnant and I don't know if I will even start one. They say stuff like stretching and rest is unnecessary. Do you see a lion stretch? No, I don't, Toby. But I also don't see a lion sit at a desk for 8 hours before trying to run 10k. As someone who has worked with lions for years, I can tell you with 100% confidence that lions in fact do stretch. Especially after lying down for a while and before doing something physical. Take that, Toby. Stretching is 46% of what my roommate's cats do. Brand new guy asking a bunch of addicted gamers, hey, should I buy this $100 pack? Well, it wouldn't hurt to just have a playset of every card ever printed. It's just a question of budget. Not so much a hobby as it is my career, but for many people it is a hobby. When one of my new private violin students opens their case and it's a bright blue violin from Amazon. It sounds like crap. It's impossible to play because it wasn't constructed correctly and it was only 60 bucks. If you're interested in playing an instrument, ask an expert where to get an instrument. Amazon is never the answer. Rent an instrument until you know what you want. They bought a bunch of expensive stuff, or they bought a bunch of cheap stuff. The 2 reasons why most people give up hobbies prematurely. 1. They get frustrated because their expensive equipment isn't helping them be instantly good or improve at an accelerated rate. 2. They get frustrated because their cheap equipment is literally hindering their progress, regardless of how much practice and effort they put in. They ask if they really need to buy all the books, D&D. They ask one of the 10 or so questions that get posted almost daily to /r/writing, or they just assume they know everything already and their first draft is brilliant and won't hear anything to the contrary. 9 times out of 10, could you critique my writing? Equals tell me I'm talented and special. People don't want to hear your opinion. They want to hear their opinion coming out of your mouth. My character is a drow rogue. They are chaotic neutral and stick to the shadows. Remember running my first ever campaign with my friends, also their first time playing D&D, and they all told me their alignment was somewhere on the good scale, mix of neutral and chaotic, only for them to bully every shopkeeper, guard, and child they came across. I remember when I played my first D&D campaign. Everyone was inexperienced, so most of us went with a really standard character. One friend had a dragonborn, outcast chief of his tribe. His mission was to get back to his tribe, form an army by befriending other tribes, then win the upcoming war. I swear to God he was more evil than the big bad evil guy. My character was like twice his size and could snap his neck just by looking at him, and he feared me, lol. So sometimes I drifted him to the right direction. But I never forget when he abandoned a lost little girl, or when he found a bunch of dragonborns who needed help, and first he just wanted to kill them, and when we convinced him that they would be helpful in the future, he put them in a cave somewhere and forgot about them. He is true neutral. Blacksmithing. I've never forged anything, but I found some great spring steel, so I'm going to make a sword. What else do I need? First, you need to forge 200 nails, so you can learn proper hammer swings. After that you're ready to make a bottle opener. I've scrolled so far for blacksmithing. I'm new, just took a class, and built my own brake drum forge with a rail anvil. The first thing I'm planning to try to make with the forge is some 4 tongs out of mild steel bar stock, then it's tons of hooks and nails, which I've made already, before I get close to anything else. I'm thinking skewers for something to up the skill. I once made my mother a set of 25 hooks for Christmas to hang around a new house, on doors and whatnot. Trying to make simple things that look mostly similar is a really interesting challenge. Talking too much to prove what they know. I have been very guilty of this. Someone who is experienced and skilled at a given activity will tend to just shut up and do it, whatever the activity may be. I've noticed I do this in a relatively new career with a different company. I know I don't know a fraction of what I eventually will, but damn if I don't talk like I do. Knowing your flaws is the first step to overcoming them. I'm a chess player, and whenever someone talks about a weird porn glitch that happens on the major chess websites, I know they are new. You see, the weird porn glitch is actually a legitimate feature of the game. It just doesn't happen very regularly, which is why most beginners are not aware of it. It's called en passant. So yeah, to all these beginners I say, Google en passant. I have a weakness for en passant. If the opportunity presents itself, I will always take the en passant capture. It's just such a fun rule to invoke. This and cursling, don't care if I lose, I love extra moves. They Google the best, and then they try to explain to you why that manufactured product listed in half of the links from the first Google search results page is the best. My boss told me today he pays X amount of money to be top page in search results. I added it to all my searches to get an idea of what I should be searching for. Then I narrow down my searches to why I should be searching those things. It's legit like doing a research paper for me when I search which flashlight to get next. Not kidding. They don't thin their paints or put them on the miniature in one thick coat. Scrolled too far for this, but I knew it was here. Too thin coats. Laughs in thick splashes of contrast. They always ask, so who are the good guys? And then are shocked when I tell them that there are no good guys in the 41st millennium. As someone that has literally never seen / held a model or had anything to do with 40k but has spent more than 5 minutes on the internet, even I know there are no good guys, only war. True, but I'm only talking lore-wise, in a timeline-based format. They often ask that in those cases, but they quickly get smart after a few Lutin 09 videos. 100-mile bike ride in summer and they show up on a cruiser with panniers and a single water bottle. I'm nervous playing a round of golf with only one bottle of water. I golfed last weekend in 90+ midday heat. I have a 40-ounce bottle that I had filled up twice while on the course, 120 ounces of water during the 5.5 hours we were there and we were riding. If they ask how to swap an engine into their car or how to turbo their car, it's a sure sign that they are new to working on cars. The questions aren't necessarily bad, but there's so much work involved in the answer that those questions are way too vague. They're trying to get in way over their head if they don't have the basics figured out beforehand. Ditto on people asking how they can add a lot of power to a base model Mustang or Camaro. There's nothing wrong with the base model, but there's a good reason that the answer is usually sell it and buy the V8. You'd spend just as much money modding the V6 or Turbo 4 and wind up with a vehicle that has maybe the same power output as the V8 at best, but significantly worse reliability. If you're trying to make power, your money very often is best spent starting off with the model that has the better engine. How can I get my V6 Mustang up to 500 HP? I have a budget of $500 and this is my only car. I should be able to do it in a weekend easy if you just tell me what eBay turbo I should buy. I can make your V6 Mustang hit 500 HP once. I love indie. That stuff on the music on the radio is all crap. I mean, I don't entirely disagree, but come on, don't define what you love in opposition to what you don't. I'm not going to lie, I sorta hate the question what kind of music are you into, if only cause I have such a hard time answering it. My Spotify playlist is a hodgepodge of like 50 different subgenres that don't really relate, and I like whatever sounds good to me isn't really a satisfying answer. So I usually just say indie rock. I like to think I have a somewhat wide range in taste, but I'm currently really into insert music genre / artists. That's a generally satisfying response that doesn't pigeonhole your taste, nor does it create a rant that'll bore everyone else. When they ask for help in baking something, and I tell them they can't put those combinations together because that's the chemistry of baking, you need to follow the recipe and all the basic rules of baking. Don't expect something nice to come out if you don't know your ratios for baking properly. An example would be a friend that asked if they could make lemon curd cookies by using their leftover curd and putting flour in it and baking it. I said please don't do that because XYA. Guess what? They did it and made cement lemon flavored cookies. How did I'll just put some flour in the curd and voila, cookies? Even cross their mind? They know they could just top normal cookies with the curd, right? Wrong needles for the size yarn they're using. buying yarn because it was pretty slash soft slash on sale, and trying to match it to a project instead of choosing a project and buying the yarn with intent in mind. Since you guys seem fixated on this one in particular, I'm talking about people who buy crappy worsted weight acrylic on sale because OMG the color, and then don't understand why it won't work for that beautiful lace shawl they saw on Rav. Or making a baby blanket out of a yarn that can't be machine washed slash dried. Or buying cotton yarn for a project that needs some stretchiness to it. Beginners rarely understand how the different fabric types and yarn sizes make a huge difference in end result, so there's a massive difference between an experienced knitter who understands how to use their stash and a beginner who buys whatever and tries to shoehorn it into an unrelated pattern. How many skeins slash yards of yarn do I need to knit a blanket? First point is spot on. The second one is something a seasoned yarnie might do as well, and I even do it on purpose. Several years ago I decided to not buy traditional souvenirs when I travel, but to get yarn instead. I usually look for lace or sock yarn that is made locally from natural fibers. It doesn't have to be hand spun, but shouldn't be a big international brand either. I feel that was one of the best decisions I made about travel. Sorry, I should been more clear. I meant when they only have one set of needles, but buy random yarn, and then ask what can be made with it. An experienced knitter can totally pick up yarn and find something to do with it, but there are way too many posts of noobs trying to use the wrong yarn because it was on sale or looked pretty. Hi guys, I'm looking to buy a CNC router. My requirements: I want to cut aluminum, steel, titanium, and unobtainium. I'm looking for precision within 0.001mm at least, but 0.0001mm would be better. I need a bed at least 1 meter by 2 meters, but 2 meters by 4 meters would be better. Automatic tool changing is a plus, but not strictly required. My budget is $1,000. Which machine would be best for me? I know absolutely nothing about machining. What would a CNC router with the above specs actually cost? 1. It doesn't exist. 2. 250k plus range. Tales from r/blender. I'm still quite a beginner myself, but some will just go, how do you create this scene? And show really complicated compositions with countless models and complicated materials that an artist must have spent weeks on. Some of them feel like downloading the software is already most of the work done, but this probably goes for most digital art forms. I feel like an old man using Blender. It drives me mad. How do I do this? Oh, that's easy bro, just press Shift Alt ampersand S, stand on your head and stick a finger in your ear and a menu will appear. It takes a while getting used to it. Take it a bit at a time. Takes a while. Climbing, no calluses on the hands. Pool, shooting too hard for every shot. Climbing, thinking that people at the gym are judging you. It is okay, new PPL. Everyone has their own challenges and we were all new once. Believing that it's the tools that make the product, not the worker. Artists, photographers, wood carving, musicians, heck, people with curly hair, etc. all get asked questions on what they used to get their result. Great pick. What lenses did you use? Love this drawing. What pencils/markers did you use? While equipment can help make the product better, it will never make the product good. A good artist can create something nice with mediocre tools. Good tools just give you that little bit extra, or make the process much easier, but even the best tools won't help if you have no practice or talent. I got a mic. I'm just going to do it on the side. Make some extra money. Me, okay, do you want to do ads or something? No, I want to voice anime and cartoons. Sup, want to make money at voiceover? Do ads. Want to voice animation? Get an agent and good luck. Bootiti Rasi ing is Badi. Tracing helps a great deal to learn composition, to learn someone else's art style and process, and get used to drawing new things you didn't know how to draw. If it feels like it's cheating, it's because you're not using it right. I'm horrible at most artistic endeavors. There are a few things I learned to draw just for fun to include as silly things on notes I leave my partner. The only way I could learn was to trace it over and over while sort of following along with a guide. That's just how my brain works. Thank you for making me feel less like I'm in kindergarten, lol. Best way to use tracing is to do basic shapes and lines over the picture you're tracing. Then when you want to draw something similar to what you traced, it's usually way easier to do these basic shapes first and then to build on top of that to draw what you wanted to draw. It's an incredibly efficient learning tool that people don't use enough. Similarly, using 3D models. It's easy to learn basic 3D modeling and can be one hell of a clutch for drawing. They talk about turning the hobby into a business. What advice would you give to someone wanting to open a gamma store? Don't. Amazon will crush you. They're full of enthusiasm and the humility to try something they don't know much about. I too don't want to be too down on people trying new things, but a significant number of the complaints people are listing here about new folks not having humility. They try to skate, roller skating, backwards before they've learned to properly skate forward. For some reason, so many skating noobs just want to jump straight ahead to backwards skating. Yeah, it looks cool, but you really need to master, like really master it, regular forward skating, before you even attempt it backwards. Nor it's the lock knees and stopping dragging a toes top while going forward. Going backwards really isn't that much harder than forwards, as long as you aren't trying to do anything too fancy. If you can sticky feet forwards, backwards isn't that much harder. They talk about this Matt Mercer guy all the freaking time. Matt Mercer has been great for the popularity of D&D and horrible for the expectations of new players. Why aren't my games more like Critical Role? You are not a professional voice actor. Your DM is not a professional voice actor. Your sessions are not professionally produced. I think it's funny that a lot of people probably prefer not to be part of a game like Matt's. They just don't realize it. The entire cast puts so much effort into the game that I don't think it's for most people in the long term. I would love to be part of their game for a few sessions, but I play D&D to relax, and the pressure to live up to the standards of everyone else at that table definitely wouldn't be relaxing for me, even without the streaming. Getting mocked and dismissed by people in the subreddit for the hobby after asking reasonable questions. Lol, I remember some guy in the bagpipes subreddit asking how to get started as he had been gifted a set, and every single reply was along the lines of OMG no, just stop, give up now, it won't be a good set of bagpipes, you can't just learn like that, you need to do these 10 impossible things first, just stop, you're so embarrassing. A lot of people have posted negative responses to being new to something. As someone who has played Switch games for a long time, people who bought a Switch due to pandemic boredom would always ask me for game recommendations. And anyone who plays video games knows that we absolutely love this question. I recently bought my first gaming PC, so I've been asking people for Steam recommendations and found some real gems. I have a hobby goat farm. I say hobby because I got them all as babies, so they are just money pits at the moment, all about 8 months old right now. In the meantime, I've damn near made a career out of clipping hooves for other people who got a ton of goats and didn't know that they required hoof maintenance. The poor things are usually in a lot of pain by the time I get to them. Research your animals, people. Has telescope from Walmart or Target, etc., and can't understand why they can't keep name planet in frame or focus, or buy the most expensive motorized mounted telescope they can afford, not knowing about types, aperture, etc. Take it in their light polluted backyard and expect to see crazy detailed DSO like they see in pictures. Once that didn't go well, they meet up with a local group in the countryside and their motor dies and don't know how to manually find objects. I know this, cause this was me many years ago until I learned the hobby, lol. Probably bad audio, bad lighting, weird framing. I mean, creating a professional video is essentially cutting out all the fat and trying to make it seamless as possible. If someone has first started, they're probably gonna get a lot wrong. For military public affairs training in broadcasting, they taught us that for every 1 minute of video there is at least 1 hour of work. Like tons of prep, from writing a script or preparing questions, setting up lights, then finally filming and audio, to tearing down your set, then editing, mixing a duo, cutting your video to have clean transitions. If you skip something, you can ruin your whole shoot, and you can only fix so much in post-production. Strap their dive knife to the outside of their leg instead of the inner thigh. It's supposed to cut kelp, not catch all of it as you swim around. Scuba diving. I strap it to my ass butt. Freaking noob. Everyone knows it goes in your ass butt.